Now, leaders from the G20 countries are meeting in South Africa this weekend, but without the US, after President Trump announced a boycott over his claims that the host country is persecuting its Afrikaner white minority. Correspondents say Mr. Trump's decision to pull the US and himself out of the talks in Johannesburg is likely to undermine South Africa's aim to push for progress on issues affecting poorer countries such as climate change, green energy transition, and spiraling debt levels. The Chinese leader Xi Jinping also won't attend, meaning the heads of the world's two biggest economies will skip a meeting meant to bring developed and developing countries together to tackle pressing global issues. Well, for more on this, I'm joined now on the line from Johannesburg by Arise correspondent Adesua Giwa Osagie. Good to see you, Adesua. We heard reports earlier that the US had sent an 11th hour request to South Africa to attend the G20 summit in what appears to be a reversal of President Trump's boycott. But then there were contrary reports that said this was fake. What are you hearing about this?
Good evening, Charles. It's so lovely to see you this evening. Now, very importantly, what happened here was that American delegation here, led by the Charge d'Affaires, who is basically the man under what would be an ambassador level. He's the deputy chief of mission here in South Africa, and he sent a letter saying that there was a delegation of about 11 Americans who wanted to participate. However, they clarified that the letter was to participate in the handing over, because of course, once South Africa ends its presidency of the G20, America is the next country to take over. Of course, they have already selected Trump's golf and spa retreat in Miami, Florida, as the location for the next G20. But America has clarified that they do not intend to participate, that they're only participating in the handover, but not the G20 leadership summit itself. And of course, we did see Caroline Leavitt, the spokesperson for Donald Trump, US President Donald Trump, saying that Ramaphosa was running his mouth a little, which a lot of people here found highly disrespectful of the president of a sovereign nation.
Indeed. I think a lot of people, particularly in Africa, would find that really quite distasteful. And the Chinese leader, Xi Jinping, is also skipping the summit. I mean, how much will the absence of the leaders of the world's two biggest economies undermine the summit?
I love that you brought that up, because the Chinese delegation has actually already met with President Cyril Ramaphosa. One of the high-ranking members of the Chinese government is here to represent China's interests. The countries that are not attending, whose heads of states rather are not attending, is China, Russia, Argentina, and Mexico, for different reasons. Putin, of course, the president of Russia, has a war he is engaging in, and of course he has a warrant out for his arrest. So he is not necessarily welcome in South Africa at the moment. Argentina is aligned with American President US Donald Trump, and of course Mexico, Steinbaum said she's not going to come. But every single one of them have sent delegations except for the US. Now, it does seem that a lot of people expected that it would undermine the events of this week, that it would cast a huge shadow over it, especially with the attention-seeking nature, I would say, that we are seeing from some of the words coming out. For example, saying that a president was running his mouth. But what we have seen here is that UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has arrived, French President Emmanuel Macron has arrived, Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the UN, has arrived. He's also given a press briefing earlier in the day. We have President of Brazil, Lula da Silva here, and he's also met with Ramaphosa. We have President of African nations. Now, our Vice President in Nigeria, Kashim Shettima, is on his way. We're right next to the hotel he's expected to stay at, and he's supposed to land in the next 30 minutes. And we also have presence of other black nations from the global south. The Prime Minister of Jamaica, President of Namibia, Nandi Ndaitwah, are also on her way. So it does seem that the US said that they are not participating, but the rest of the world seems to have shown up.
You mentioned Nigeria there, Adesua. I'm going to come to that in a minute. But given all that you've told us, what proposals are now on the table? Are issues such as climate change, debt relief, Africa's agenda still on the cards?
Yes. Now, the theme for this event is solidarity, equality, and sustainability. As you spoke about earlier, just energy transition is a huge topic. Of course, also in COP 30, we're seeing it's also coming up because Africa has said that they have not been able to use or utilize our fossil fuels the way that the West has and other industrialized nations have, and that we will be hindering ourselves if we focus too much on green energy. So it's not just about green energy, but also the just energy transition, the debt burden, the burden of climate change, which of course affects countries in the global south more than it does countries in the west or the global north. We've also had conversations here about the declaration that the G20 leaders are supposed to give at the end of the summit. Now, of course, US President Donald Trump said that there should be no declaration given at the G20, with some US allies, the delegations here, particularly from Europe, saying that they were trying to use America's absence as some sort of coercion on its allies. However, the Sherpas, according to some people who I've spoken to here, they have agreed on the language of what that declaration would be. Whether or not the declaration will happen is yet to be seen, but it does seem to focus on some of the crises we're seeing across the world, in the DRC, in Sudan, in Ukraine, with Ukraine being a huge topic for the European leaders, particularly as they try and shore up their defenses and play nice to the US, who does provide them with a lot of their military equipment. So those are some of the issues that are going to come up here: technology, and also, of course, equality and equity. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has been going on about wealth inequality in the world and how unequal the world has become in the 21st century, with the 1%, the top 1% of the world's population acquiring over 40% of the wealth created in the last 25 years.
Very interesting indeed. And of course, the business of the summit, beyond the things that you're talking about, is obviously still going ahead. The Nigerian delegation, as you said, are there. Tell us more about what they've been doing.
So I was able to attend an event earlier today that was run by the Nigeria Investment Promotion Commission under Aisha Rimi and MTN's president here in South Africa. And it was an event where you had governors from Nigeria pitching their states for investment to leaders primarily from other African countries, but mostly from South Africa, with members of the South African government represented there, particularly their ministries of industry and trade. We had the governor of Gombe State, the governor of Kaduna State, the governor of Nasarawa State, all on stage. Also the governor of Plateau State, of course, Caleb Mutfwang. We also have our minister, coordinating minister of the economy, Wale Adun, who I was also able to speak to earlier today, speaking about the importance of intra-African trade and the AfCFTA. Intra-African trade at 14%, according to him, means that there's over 86% opportunity. And so the idea now for the Nigerian delegation is to focus on intra-African trade, whether we or not we've been designated a country of particular concern, even with all the insecurity and challenges facing the country, that we have to do both at the same time. We have to fight insecurity at home, but also come out into the world and on a global stage and get more money and investment into Nigeria for moving our economy and our infrastructure forward.
Good stuff, Adesua. Thank you for all of that. Adesua Giwa Osagie is a RISE correspondent. She was talking to me on the line there from Johannesburg.